Yeah, so I'll have to share mic a little bit. But wow, what a great group of female filmmakers and guests here today. Thank you so much for being here. I wanted to say again also, please feel free to use the mics for audience questions. And we had a great turnout for this block. But thank you all so much for being here. We're so excited to have you. We have Anna Nicholas, who is the filmmaker for Catch and Release. Anna, would you like to say an introduction on your film?
Hi, everybody. Thanks for coming. Well, it is, I hope it speaks for itself. I said in my intro that it was based on my sibling and myself, but we were trying an experiment of just seeing how little we could say, hoping that it came through that the end is the beginning. The end of the film is the beginning of them trying to talk through what needed to happen.
Great. Katie from On the Edge.
Yeah, I just hope my little film inspires people to get outside and think about how we can best protect the places we love.
Hi, my name is Gabrielle Hall, and I'm an enrolled member of the Klamath tribes, and I served as a liaison for the boarding school film between curriculum committee and Wahoo Films. And I wish you would have watched yours last, because it made me laugh, and mine made me cry. But we wanted to share the story of the boarding schools because during the pandemic, we had elder after elder who had attended these schools dying. And the history hasn't been written. Over 10,000 bodies have been found in the last 2 years in residential and boarding schools in the North America. And so we wanted the history to be shared. And as a tribal member, sorry, my grandma's name's on that list. And I wanted to honor her, and I wanted to honor all the Native people who experienced that, and to have the privilege to be able to do it and to share that history is healing. I mean, I don't sound like I'm healing right now, but it's cathartic. And so to be able to share it in a forum like this, and to have the curriculum go into classrooms, and to build a relationship through film with a company like Wahoo, who took our history, which is hard, and they shared it, and they brought out a way that it could be understood with reverence, and it just shows the power of film. So thank you.
Yeah, hi, I'm Michelle. I was honored enough to be able to work on and direct boarding schools along with Henry here, and just felt really, grew up around the tribes and hadn't really understood some of that trauma that went on. So it was wonderful to, difficult to hear, but also helpful, I think, to be able to share that story so we can understand why what's hurt they're hoping to heal from. So, yeah.
Hi, I'm Henry, producer of Wahoo Films, and yeah, working with Abby and the tribes. As she mentioned, it was during that pandemic where the elders were just passing away. We just had to get a date locked in because we wanted to be able to archive those elders' oral histories. And what shook me especially was as we were researching for the film, how difficult it was. Like you'd go to the historical museums and societies and cultural centers to try to find photographs or just written documents. And we had this aha moment collectively that, oh, it was deliberate, that this history was deliberately made to be erased. And I think that was very powerful for us. And then as we were gathering the names, that took us weeks to create that list as that Remember Me song comes into credits. And that's the comprehensive list we came up with, but that's not even all the names. And it's just shows you how many people are affected in our communities here.
Yes, thank you so much, Abby, for the work that you've done, Wahoo Films, with that topic. And that was the first time that all of those names have been listed together through the work that y'all did to bring those names and bring them up and to light. So that, and it's interesting. I mean, I noticed we clapped, like, assuming it's the credits, but the list, it just keeps going on. And so it's really humbling and just obviously very dark, but the work that you did to restore that history and bring it back, I mean, that's something that'll live on for a long time. So thank you there. And, you know, it kind of goes into the segue here. These films all address difficult topics, and they each do it in their own unique way. So I'm curious from all of you, how did you decide to approach these different topics and the inspiration, and how'd that come about?
I can go first. Let's see. Well, I am friends with all the women that were on this pack rafting trip, and I was just going as a participant. It was just this group of friends, and it wasn't until we were, you know, planning the trip when we started facing all these difficulties. Like they had just closed a couple of rivers to fishing in Montana, and they, you know, the North Umpqua was just closed, and I just started thinking, my goodness, like climate change, like it is now affecting us personally. And I thought it was a really important, I thought it could, you know, tell a smaller story about what we're all hearing and talking about. And I knew like each of those women are so funny in their own way. And so I knew that it could be a serious film, but also a funny, humorous film. So.
Yeah.
I work as a mediator as well as a filmmaker, and so I try to resolve conflicts before they occur. It's what I feel my job is. And my favorite group to work with are adult children facing this with a parent. And I guess my thematic reason for wanting to tell this story was having lived through something similar with my sibling, but just also, you know, if you don't talk about stuff, if you don't communicate, if you don't try and explain or heal or alert or warn or something, nothing will change. So I think that was my motivation. And then just artistically, as I said before, I just wanted to do it with minimal words. It was cut way back from the script, which I think originally was 15 pages. And I think it ends up at 7 minutes. But anyway, so that's kind of it.
Absolutely. Wahoo Films, Michelle?
Yeah. So Abby and Klamath Tribes had approached us to produce 3 films. One showed earlier, and then one showed at the environmental event. And so boarding schools was definitely one of them. I believe Clay's brother had passed away, his twin. And so we obviously wanted to make sure and capture what we could. So in interviewing the 13 elders, Clay's story definitely stood out. Everyone had really interesting things, but as you can kind of tell in all these stories, character, you know, having somebody who really moves the story forward is really important, and his was obviously really strong. But when we went to look into St. Albany, there was like nothing. It was like almost like it completely had been erased. No imagery, not very much information. And so that's why we decided to add, we hadn't planned on doing animation, but we decided it helped enhance that experience, you know, even though he's just such a good storyteller, so that helped.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'd love to touch on that a little bit with storytelling with all of you. Anna, you're a writer, you're director. I mean, you wear a lot of hats. So how does storytelling for you change between the different mediums that you use, or how do you approach it?
I just feel like a story takes over me. It's not anything that I go looking for a specific type of story. They say a lot of people keep making the same story over and over again, but an idea hits me, and I think that I can tell that story, or it's important that I tell the story. In this case, I felt important to tell the story because we all have parents who age eventually, and how we're going to deal with that is just something we all have to look at before it's too late. The first film in this series today was about that. She didn't know her mom was going to die, right? And she went on stage and accused her mom of not being there, and who knows how she died, but she wasn't there. And then with the film last night, with the feature, that was an escape from COVID. That was a whole different motivation for why I wanted to tell that story. So I guess, does that answer kind of?
Absolutely, yeah. And for those who missed it, Bride and Zoom was also by Anna last night, and it was also beautifully, wonderfully made film. So, Katie, what are your thoughts on storytelling? Big question. Maybe in this specific medium, or just, or even how you got into filmmaking and sharing these stories through that way.
Sure. Yeah, I think, well, kind of with the first part of the question, I think storytelling has, I mean, it's such a bridge to like bringing different people together. And I think you can tell a story in any medium. Like this film was shot on all on iPhone, and it was something that I was very hesitant to do because I have, a proper cinema camera. But it turned out okay. And
I was gonna ask. I thought you probably lugged your gear out there.
yeah. Well, the decision for that was, we wanted to be ultra light. Like we had to carry in a bunch of stuff, but we also just like ethically wanted to be ultra light. And so, yeah, I would have had to have a whole other pack raft and somebody like rafting as well. So that was the decision behind that. But I think my point of that is don't let, like, if you have a story to tell, don't let technical or like equipment or anything like that stop you. I think anything is possible if you have a good story that you're passionate about telling. Doesn't really answer what you were.
Oh, it does. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts on that. And Wahoo Films, I know you've worked so closely with the Klamath tribes, and being able to tell their story is such an honor and a privilege. So how has that partnership come to be, and kind of telling these stories that are so important right now, especially?
Yeah, well, I felt really honored to be selected. I know that they were trying to decide between other folks, and it's really, we felt that being non-tribal, that it was really important to listen and help them, or let them really drive the story forward. And so that was really important. And so there was a lot of people involved and getting feedback. Abby definitely led the way. But yeah, we're really grateful, because a lot of times people want to be very protective of their stories and not share that, right? And so it just was really grateful that they were willing and let us do that. So.
Absolutely. It looks like we have a question from the audience. Cosmo, thanks so much for coming up.
Yeah, this is for Katie. I really enjoyed the journey that those women went on going up and down the river. Felt like I was there with them. And you just touched upon some of the process, but I was just curious if there were any more difficulties that you faced while you were filming, while also hiking and rafting with them, or any events that occurred that it didn't make the cut.
Oh yeah, there were plenty of things that happened and didn't make the cut. I mean, I think the iPhone's amazing, like the technology of it, but it filled up quickly, and so the other women were filming as well, and they didn't have the most recent iPhone, so that it was hard to match up. I think I also purchased a bunch of lenses to use with the iPhone, and like an ND filter and a mic, and by the end it was just too hard to manage all of that. But there is that option. I mean, the other thing was, like, that was my dog, and so I was responsible for her, and it was, I think the hardest thing was being able to paddle and also like have my dog stay in the boat, paddle, and try to film. So that was, but it was worth it. It was totally worth it. I wouldn't have gone without her.
Great. Thank you, Cosmo. Well, we're running to the end of our panel discussion. I want to open it up to y'all to say any final thoughts while our audience is here. Anything you'd like to share with your film, or yeah, just open-ended.
I'll just say, if anybody wants to talk to me later, and if they didn't get something, or I have no idea what was going on in my movie, I'd love to know that.
Yeah, likewise. That's good. Thanks for coming.
Yeah.
I want to thank the film festival for nominating our film.
So do we.
That was not a baiting question. You did not.
It brings Native history. You know, a lot of you have probably lived in this community forever and have driven by, you know, Chemawa or St. Mary's or multiple boarding schools. There's about 20 of them in Oregon and nobody knows. And so we're in the truth part, and then we'll get to the reconciliation and the healing. But I do feel that it's a journey, and to be able to come here and do a little healing with all of you has been great. But you know, if you ever want to share it, we made it to be shared, and so history when shared is powerful. So thank you very much.
Yeah, we can end on that. That was good.
Okay, sounds great. Okay. I guess we're going to keep you up here a little bit longer.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh, I know. Well, let's dive a little bit deeper into these topics, Anna, because like you said, this is something that everyone goes through and everyone deals with. And I'm sure working through this movie might have been a little bit cathartic for you to go back and look at your own past and decide to share that with people. So do you want to dive into that a little bit?
Well, I guess I have a little regret about what happened in my own situation. So this was a way to take a look at that and think about what I could have done differently, you know? It's funny because as a mediator, I can help other people find their way to talking to each other, but I wasn't very good at doing it myself. I don't know, humanity. I guess that's the big inspiration for filmmakers is humanity writ large.
Oh, absolutely.
So.
And I mean, I'd just like to say with each of these films, I mean, personally, they've touched me. I mean, I've dealt with losing a parent and going through that, and with parents getting older and living across the country. And it's just being able to share these stories in this medium is so special. And Katie, with your film, it's something that, you know, I know all of my friends and everyone in my generation is thinking about, and how do we recreate responsibly? And it's not something that we necessarily talk about, though. How do we help climate change? How do we make the world better? And so using your film as a medium to do that, or even just talk about it more with our friends and an open-ended discussion, I mean, that's also, you know, really personal. And so thank you for sharing your film also with us. Yeah, and with the tribes, I'm not a local Oregonian. I moved here 2 years ago, and so being able to learn about where I am, and you know, it's so different from Tennessee too, where the tribes aren't quite as, I guess, close and local, and we have the Cherokee, and I'm part Cherokee descendant, and so it's just really interesting. I mean, very far back, but it's just like being able to learn about the tribes here and where I moved to, and having y'all give that to our festival and be able to share it with people who live in Klamath Falls. It's so special, and we're so lucky to be able to work with the Klamath tribes and be able to know y'all. So thank you so much. Yep. Well, that's all right. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Cassidy.
Okay. The next film will start at 4 o'clock, so everybody gets a break. So please go get some snacks, take a restroom break.